Welcome to another video on Dai's Opinions. In this video, I'll be reviewing the 2011 remake of the movie Arthur. Now this movie in particular is a bit special to me, for I do not see this film as a remake. In fact, I think it is a mistake to even call it a remake, because it is so vastly different from the original. The original Arthur, made in 1981, was a masterpiece itself and was a fabulous success during its time, and for that I give it its respects. But the 2011 remake is honestly no comparison. As I said in my first review of The Lion King 2, you should look at this remake in its own separate place, away from the original. I do admit that I watched the remake before I saw the original, but that was because I saw it on television. I had no idea it even was a remake until I looked it up online. I watched it with a complete blank slate, expecting a cute little love story and nothing more, but honestly when I was done watching this film, I was stunned. Arthur is a romantic comedy film that stars Russell Brand as the eponymous Arthur Botch, a drunken New York City billionaire who is on the brink of an arranged marriage to a wealthy heiress, Susan Johnson, to keep his billion-dollar fortune, but ends up falling in love with the common working-class girl from Queens named Naomi Quinn. The plot is so simple it's almost laughable, but yet there is so much going on in this film with multiple conflicts going on at once that you're constantly entertained. There is the trouble between Arthur and his crazy soon-to-be wife, Susan, who is pretty much the most wretched person in the entire movie. There is the relationship between Arthur and his female butler, Lillian Hobson, who has raised Arthur since he was born. And then there is the conflict with Arthur's emotions for when he realizes he has fallen in love with a commoner, and all other kinds of interesting situations that make the movie so wonderful. Arthur is very childish in this film. And yes, even I sometimes cringed at when he was at his most ridiculous, but there are still points in the movie where he realizes his childishness and acts very adult. The love between Arthur and Naomi is wonderful. Naomi is very innocent and naive, but still very independent, and tries to prove herself to others. By contrast, Arthur doesn't need to prove himself to anyone, because he is already accepted by pretty much anyone. For the wrong reasons, of course, since he is a billionaire, but accepted nonetheless, while Naomi is always struggling to be accepted in society. A strong point in this movie is when these two interact with one another. There is one scene where Arthur shows Naomi what his money can buy, and puts on a glorious display for her. But Naomi doesn't appreciate this. She only enjoys Arthur's company, which is shown when they go to Naomi's apartment afterwards, spending the rest of the evening just talking. Arthur and Naomi complement each other well, because they both learn from each other, and that's what I love seeing from a romance movie. Arthur is shown how to enjoy the simple things in life, while Naomi learns to be a bit more open to things around her. Another thing about this movie that caught my eye was the glorious performance of Helen Mirren, who plays Hobson, Arthur's butler. Every time she was on screen, I was either laughing my ass off, or was on the brink of tears, because she is such a powerful character. Hobson is Arthur's mother figure, his best friend, and butler, all in one. When she sees the love blossoming between Arthur and Naomi, she tries to stop Arthur from pursuing Naomi any further so she doesn't get hurt. But when she sees the powerful change in Arthur and how truly wonderful Naomi is, she can't help but let the whole thing play through, despite the fact that Arthur is going to be married. There are so many other characters that deserve mention as well. Like Naomi's father, who is a simple guy trying to raise his daughter and protect her as much as he can, even though most situations Naomi gets in are above him. And then there is Arthur's mother, who is a workaholic and is despised by Arthur's childish ways, but still cares for him deeply, which is shown through her actions by the end of the film. I think all the characters portrayed really well, except Bitterman, Arthur's chauffeur, who is only a source of comedic relief in this movie, while in the original Arthur, he is much more serious and respectable. Speaking of the original Arthur, I think that this remake is so far off that it could have been made into a completely different film, because honestly, other than the characters' names and a few scraps of dialogue they added on from the original, it really is its own movie. The original Arthur was still very good, and I watched it, and I knew why it was very popular during its time, but I feel that the Arthur character did not learn or change much throughout the movie, unlike the 2011 Arthur. Now, I have to spoil the ending of both movies to explain why the 2011 Arthur is a much better portrayal of Arthur's character than the original Arthur. In the 2011 Arthur ending, Arthur cancels off the arranged marriage he has to Susan and loses everything just for Naomi, but yet is rejected by her at the end because of his childish and ridiculous way of wooing her back. This forces Arthur to change his ways. He even goes through rehab for his alcohol addiction. He cleans himself up and then pursues Naomi months later as a changed man. While in the original, Arthur automatically gets the girl after canceling the marriage, regains the money with a 2-second chat with his mother, or father, I don't really remember, and then goes off into the sunset with his new lover, not learning a single thing. This is what makes the remake better in my opinion, because Arthur really has changed and grown into a better man by the end. The 2011 Arthur really does deserve a lot more love. If only it wasn't a remake and was made into its own movie, which could have totally been done. And that is honestly my only complaint I give to this film. I give this movie an 8 out of 10, because it is a wonderful film and I enjoy it just as much as any other romantic comedy. Even more so because Russell Brand stars in it. Seriously, that man is so sexy. But despite my fangirling of Russell Brand, I really do feel more people should give this movie a chance, especially if you like romantic comedies, because the movie itself is completely adorable. Thanks for listening. Hope you liked my review.